through, so just 5 exited in the last 32. Yize, of course, is the newest member of the elite bracket and fully deserving his place after that terrific victory at the International Championship. 2 of the form players of the season here. Neil Robertson, top of the one-year list. Yize is 5th on that list. So they both had successful campaigns already. This could be a really good match, I think. And, of course, new cloths as well. You would think, in theory, would aid scoring. Let's find out. Still best of 11 to play Mark Williams or Pang Jung-Zhu.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The first frame. Neil Robertson to break.
Neil Robertson, 3 times the UK champion, gets us underway. There's only 4 meetings between them, but some memorable matches there. The World Championship first round, 2023. Robertson won 10-3, but Yize on his debut at the Crucible actually made back-to-back centuries, and Robertson later had 2 1-4-6s. And then, of course, the English Open final, where Robertson led 8-2, but Yize stormed back, just missing out 9-7. Fascinating match, Dominic, and you could make a good case for either, couldn't you?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. This is a match that I'm going to have to tell you that I find very difficult to call. Both of these players are such terrific break builders, great attacking potters. Tactically, I think they have a lot to learn, to be honest with you. Even though Neil's been around the circuit for so long, Neil's tactical game perhaps isn't that of somebody like a Mark Williams or Mark Selby or John Higgins, but his game, like Yize, is based around potting and break building, and there's no one better in the game. I'm expecting a break building fest. I'm expecting a very close match, and it's, as I say, it's not easy to call. I'm going 6-4, 6-5 either way.
Yeah, 2 terrific players, but also I think they both relish the big stage. Yize really has become a big occasion player, as he showed out in Nanjing. That's always been the case with Robertson. Aiming today to reach an 8th UK Championship quarter-final. Yize appearing in the last 16 for the 2nd year running. Was beaten by Mark Allen here last year at this stage. Of course, Robertson's first round opponent, Julien Leclerc, he was nervous early on. It was to be expected, really, walking out into the bear pit. Robertson won 6-2. And Yize, of course, beat Michael Holt 6-4. He's 5-0 up. Got very sticky towards the end.
Yize could attempt this red that's next to the blue. If he stuns across for the blue into the right centre, he couldn't really leave anything on except the red that he takes on here. So it's worth having a go at this. And he has left that red on for Neil, and strangely enough, the right colour to play for here is probably the black. And find the gap between the yellow and the brown, bring the cue ball down this top end of the table.
One.
Well, thanks to the kiss on the blue, it's worked out okay. Nearly overcut the red, actually, but it's worked out a dream.
And so typically of players in the modern era, they purposely leave themselves low on the red that's at the back of the pack in order to pot it and break open the reds and bring further reds into play. And players these days are so capable of controlling this shot well. Neil will fully expect to be nicely on the black as a result of this shot. It's something that they practice.
9.
And just look at that in a matter of a couple of shots. Just look at the position of the Reds now, and one more delicate cannon into the Reds here, and I'm sure Neil will be in A1 position and will probably expect to win the frame already.
But it just caught the near jaw and stayed out. So new cloth, but pockets don't seem any bigger than yesterday.
Surely Neil hasn't got away with that, has he? Is there a possible red on? Well, that's tight, but it's cuttable. But it's very thin. Not sure Yize will actually fancy the cut back on that red. It's exceptionally thin.
Robertson fortunate not to leave something easier than that. In some ways, Yize feels like a sort of younger version of Neil Robertson. He's such a terrific long putt. But eventually missed that pink. Just didn't quite come ideal on it from the blue. Yize knocked the pink in, and he, after all, is 1-0 up. Still best of 11 for a quarter-final place here in York.
Oh, what a first frame that was. One of the best for drama and excitement I think I've ever commentated on the frame one of a match of this magnitude. But, you know, as an old sort of wizened Rugos player that I am, one thing I spotted there when Neil attempted the pink, he literally just got down and played it, and it was a difficult pot because he had to play it with topspin and a lot of check side on the cue ball. He didn't compose himself, so I'm just wondering if he's a little tense and pensive, Neil Robertson.
Well, it's a very different match, isn't it, to the first round? You know, he was playing someone, Julien Leclerc, first time here, was always going to be nervous and up against it. He's now playing someone who's won a ranking event this season. So it feels like a completely different just environment out there. I think also Robertson feels he's playing really well at the moment, and it's a big chance this week to win another major if he can get through this round. Be here on Friday for the quarterfinals.
Switch that off, please, whatever it is.
First phone of the day. Let's hope it's the last. Some great matches there, scrolling along the bottom of the screen. John Higgins, Sean Murphy certainly stands out, but plenty of others as well. Tonight, Judd Trump, Serge Arway on the main table, and Mark Selby, Joey Long on table 2.
Chance to try and get the cue ball in behind the brown here, possibly. It's always nice to have a target of a bolt colour near the bolt cushion that you can try and play the cue ball in behind. Possibility maybe of making a plant there, the two reds in the middle of the main bunch. Could be made. Oh, decent effort. You have to take things like that on because you can never tell when there's an opportunity to pot something and create a break, a good kiss on a bolt colour, and all of a sudden you're right in. Well, you can see those two reds are a plant for the left centre and the right corner. But no access to them just yet. Was looking for a very thin contact there and caught it too thickly, but I just wonder now if Neil will knock this red in as a consequence of losing that last frame. How has it affected his confidence? It may have affected his focus until he gets in again.
Brown, just a slight concern.
White.
Nicely done. He has a generally very sunny disposition, Neil Robertson, doesn't he? He's very good at kind of basically not blaming himself when things go wrong. And it's a good way to be if he can be like that. But in general, he's very positive. And, you know, he's done so well, hasn't he, to turn around what was slight sort of mini crisis in his career. Dropped out the top 16. It's not easy to get back in. You have to win tournaments. Of course, he did. He won the English Open, beating Yize. He won the World Grand Prix just to really cement his place. And then, of course, at the start of this season, the Saudi event, huge money, $500,000. So now he's third in the world, and all those problems have gone away. But you can't just take for granted that's going to happen. He's had to make it happen. He's got a good team around him, as he said. Joe Perry's a big part of that.
6.
As you can see, he's not had the best success in this event in recent times, despite being a 3-time champion. In fact, the win over Leclerc was his first since 2020.
Seven.
I don't think Neil will entertain thoughts of potting the black because it may go on the pink spot for now. Neil will just have to make doubly sure as to where the pink will go if he pots it. Does it go on its own spot, or will it have to go up on the next highest available, which I think was the brown? I just saw a glimpse of it there. Does it respot? Very difficult to tell from here. Oh, it does. Well, Neil will have known that. Neil, like most snooker players, are very good judges of whether a ball will respot or not. But But I don't think positionally he's played a very good shot there. He can pop the red to the right corner. He'll be cannoning into another red. Should be able to hold for the black.
14.
Now, in potting the black, can he remove that red from the black spot? That would be a help. Pink is available, but I'd still prefer the black because of the angle on it. He's caught the wrong side of the red there. He might not be on anything.
21. Twenty-two.
Yeah, superb. The sort of shot you associate with Robertson, but after the, the body blow of the first frame, you can understand if he was a little anxious on it, but he didn't seem to be. That red struggled in a bit, didn't it? He's just sort of battling to obtain absolutely ideal position here.
Well, that answers one question, because that would not have gone in yesterday, I'm certain of it. So these pockets may be playing a little more generously as a result of the new cloth. But because he potted the red on the thin side, he's the wrong side of the blue. So he's now playing the pink.
Let's be honest, Dom, if they were any less generous, they'd be like a carom table, wouldn't they? Certainly last night, Karen Wilson and Elliot Slessor seemed to struggle. Now then, is he on this red to the right? The black doesn't look like it. Pink's going to block this one to the middle.
Yeah, just couldn't kill the pace of the cue ball. He has another paper-thin cut to this right corner. He'll expect to be on a colour, but he certainly won't be able to guarantee it. No, doesn't like it. Don't think this red by the pink is on. So just the safety. But a useful lead.
44.
But if he were to lose this frame as well, he'd have his concerns.
A thunderbolt from the thunder.
The red Neil would love to get onto is the one just below the pink, into the right-hand corner pocket, because then he could play for position on the black and remove some of those reds around the black spot area, and then all of a sudden the frame would be nearly in his pocket.
5.
He's not as straight on either pink or black as he'd want to be here, so he's going to have to be very careful with his positional play here. Oh, it nearly went wrong. It has in some respects, because he may be very straight on this red, and the black I don't think will now pot into the left corner.
12.
Well, it's very tight. Does go though.
$13. Yeah. 20. $21.
Well, Robertson, I'm sure, will
27.
make sure of the frame after what happened to Yize, or nearly happened to him in the last one.
28.
So the pink, and it's a snooker required, but as I say, it's that extra ball that you need as well to take the pressure off. I think he's come out with a good attitude in this frame. You know, hasn't shown any hangover from losing the opener. He's potted some really good balls.
35.
And it should be level. And this is already a very interesting match, I think.
I'm hugely impressed by Neil's efforts here in this second frame. Potted a couple of terrific balls. And the way he lost that first frame, I did have my concerns. But it just shows whenever you come out to play a match of this importance in one of the biggest tournaments that we have on the calendar, you've got to be prepared mentally for anything that may happen out there.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? I mean, last night Karen Wilson was already kind of struggling with the cue and he wasn't confident in it, but he said he missed a pink in frame one and knew he couldn't win. Well, if that's what you think, you're not going to win, are you? You know, there were other factors at play there, but you've got to try and keep that positive frame of mind. There's so many things that can and will go wrong, but in this frame, 51. They've mainly gone right for Neil Robertson. So he's well over the line.
Robertson, 51.
And with that 51 added to the earlier effort, Neil Robertson dominates frame two and levels the match with Yize at one frame each.
Thank you. The third frame, Neil Robertson to break.
One each between Neil Robertson and Yize, playing for a place in the quarterfinals of the UK Championship. Robertson has just stopped in his tracks because he's seen that red travelling. Wants to know if he's got the cover.
I don't think he has, but quite often when you do leave that red, the black is available into the left corner, but it isn't here for Yize. The pink would pop to the left centre, though, if you wanted to just drop down for that. trusted to luck a little positionally, but goodness me, having missed the red, I'd be delighted to see the cue ball finish where it has. And both of these players are such attacking players. I don't think they'll enjoy seeing that the black is tied up for now. Neil, if he wished, could bring it into play if he wanted to.
Yeah, he beat John Higgins in the final, as you can see, of the International Championship. But along the way, he beat Zhang and Judd Trump, Barry Hawkins and Jiao Xingtong as well. So it was a series of big scalps.
Well, Neil's absolutely certain that that cue ball drifted off course there. Can always happen when you play a shot at that pace over that distance. But he hasn't got away with this. Yize has a very makeable cut back to the right corner, but positionally he'll have to trust to luck.
One.
I'd be happy potting the blue if the blue was still available afterwards, but if that red that's near the blue spot could cause a problem, I think I'd rather remove that red away from the blue spot before potting the blue. Does the red next to the blue spot still pot anyway?
Six.
That's a very unexpected mistake. Cued across this. Neil's wondering if he cuts the red into the centre pocket, whether he can come off the side cushion and cannon a red to be on the black.
One. Three. Four. 8. Nine.
Neil would like to remove that red from near the corner pocket there. He could then play for the black, but in all honesty, he could have just played for the black from the previous red. Pink spot is occupied, so that will now have to go on the blue spot. Well, the pink spot is available.
15.
I must have been looking at a chalk mark, actually, which I thought was the pink spot. And that's okay from Neil's point of view, because the pink is definitely available into at least one pocket.
16.
Yeah, that 2020 match was a long old slog. Of course, it was COVID time, so there was no crowd. And they just kind of wore each other out. In fact, it got very slow. Judd Trump missed the pink to win it, didn't he? Effectively.
24.
Anyway. And Robertson, until the other day when he beat Leclerc, hadn't won a match since in this tournament for whatever reason. Playing at a good pace here, isn't he? This is where he likes to be. He always checks his stats. He'll come off at the interval and find a screen with it all on, and I think he'll be happy enough right now. Obviously, we don't know what the score's going to be, but in terms of his approach, he's been positive. Taking his shots on, playing at a good pace.
Neil's often been vulnerable against players that are just solid all-rounders that can score quite well when they get in, but have a very, very good tactical game. And that's when Neil does tend to struggle against certain players, and instead of playing at 22, 23 seconds per shot, he's ended up as low as 30, 31 seconds per shot. And that's when Neil is struggling.
Seven. Robertson, 47.
Well, he thought he'd potted that. I think he took his eye off it, but clearly that was never going to go in. Now the red closest to the pink, if that's available into the left corner, that could make a big difference here for Yize, because in potting it, he can develop the other two next to it, and it does look as though it goes.
Eight. Nine.
He didn't play the shot that well. He couldn't bring the two reds into play because he was too low on it. But he hasn't judged that cannon to the pink too badly. He can bring one of the awkward reds into play here now.
$15. Yize, 15.
It's one of those awkward ones, but he didn't really get close to it, did he?
One.
Neil Robertson will need at least one of those three awkward reds, so we'll probably leave an angle on the black just to stun up into the two reds next to the pink very shortly.
Five. Six.
And that's just about perfect. What Neil will try to do here, I'm sure, is to cannon the right-hand red of the two. We saw a similar cannon played in the first frame. And that's a little look of the contraption that's placed against the side of the table, which gives you the temperature of the bed of the cloth, because all of these table beds are heated.
13.
So he broke down initially, but Yize missed this red, cut back to this pocket. Robertson has been effective at keeping a very dangerous opponent a little cold.
20.
Could have won the first frame, but has pressed on well to win the next
21.
two.
Seven. Robertson,
Sort
27.
of half testing the table there, wasn't he, to see if that was going to drift. Anyway, he's won the frame, that's all that matters. And Neil Robertson has bounced back well from losing that opening frame. He leads here in York 2-1. 2-1 to Neil Robertson here in the last 16 of the UK Championship. It will be played over the next 2 days. Robertson hoping to reach an 88th ranking event quarter-final and 8th in the UK Championship.
One.
I feel this is an important frame from Yize's point of view. 3-1 down to Neil Robertson. The way he's looking and playing out there
Well, thank you.
could be a deficit that could be difficult to overcome.
Eight.
Well,
Yize,
that is a surprise.
8.
His pot success is down in the 70s.
But it's certainly thrown me a little, because the way Neil lost that first frame, I really did think that Neil could struggle. And Yize would be brimful of confidence, but the opposite seems to be the case.
Yeah, you'd have thought he'd lost the frame. Maybe he was still slightly affected, even though he did win it, to the fact he nearly threw it away. But that was, well, a pretty glaring miss, let's be honest.
Point.
Chance to leave an angle on the blue to go into the reds. My only concern would be the red that's just below the pink.
6.
Would that flick off another red and go dangerously close to the right corner, I wonder?
7. Well. $13.
Oh, this really is looking good now for Neil Robertson. Can play for the red that's blocking the right corner. Can play for either of the two reds, actually, and the reds just above the black are all mostly potable. I think he'd be hard on himself if he didn't go on and win the frame from here and take a 3-1 interval lead.
Not least because his opponent is struggling. Yize hasn't brought his A game yet.
27. 26. 27.
Again, a similar cannon to what we've seen before, but this time I think Neil will try to cannon the left-hand red of the two together above the black.
$34. 35.
Neil has a very unusual walk-in to every shot that he plays. It's a complete and utter routine that he's had for many years. It's always good to try and replicate what you're doing with every shot that you play.
43.
Because, of course, that's what snooker's all about. It's the repetitious nature of the cue action. The way you think about shots, how you walk into them, the mindset, it's all pure repetition, basically. Particularly the rhythm of the cue action, which has to be really metronomic.
48. 49.
Just ran through a little further than he wanted to there, Neil, so again he may play a cannon into the three reds above the black.
$56. touching ball. $57.
So, not much more to do here. The way he's played in frames 2, 3 and 4, you'd have thought he would have stolen that first frame, actually. He got the snooker, missed the pink. Yize was delighted to pot it, but he's done very little since. And Robertson, in the meantime, has been extremely positive. He's playing at 22 seconds a shot. And he's surely going to be 3-1 up at the mid-session interval.
60.
Well, yes, Neil does lead the head-to-head by 3 matches to 1, and maybe that's slightly in the mind of Yize coming into this match.
$65.
This was a very surprising miss, wasn't it? Just isn't quite with it at the moment. Well, the phone's going off. That hasn't helped, has it?
Oh no, Dave, and he's not
Make
safe
sure
yet.
the phone
He's
gets
only
switched
57
off,
ahead.
At least on silent.
There's still 59 points available.
I mean, the question is, how many times do the referees have to ask the audience just to check? It's not a hard thing to do.
1.
Do you know, I can see in a few years there being a competition for the top 10 favourite ringtones that, you know, that we have to suffer during the course of an event.
Well, an unexpected lifeline has been thrown to Yize. He was 3-1 all day long, wasn't it? He was struggling, but if he can clear up here, then what a turnaround. I mean, 2-2 feels golden because he's not played yet, really.
9.
Well, that's not the best positional shot by any means. He may be forced here to cannon the red that's near the top cushion. Whereas he should have been able to just drop in behind it. So that was a big mistake, positionally, that he just made there.
16. Yize, 16.
Certainly played the right shot there, Neil, by playing the other red towards Bolt, because with the pink out of commission, basically Yize wouldn't require 2 reds and 2 blacks to win this frame. It won't be easy to achieve that with 2 reds that are near bulk. Clever. I think Neil there tried to just cannon the black to the top cushion. That was a good effort. beautifully executed by Neil Robertson. Snookered Yize on both reds. Has to hit one of them.
Oh. Neil Robertson, 4.
So Neil Robertson coming to the table in the knowledge that he's safe in the frame. His opponent needs a snooker.
Thank you. Foul.
Well, he did.
Yize.
What's he done? Did he foul the cue ball?
Wow. Well, I thought round one was dramatic. This has turned into a bit of a head scratch. He must have feathered the white or something there. I'd love to see a replay. Very honest, owning up immediately.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dave. It must have been the cue ball. The player would know that, whereas if he caught the green or the brown with his sleeve, he wouldn't know. Oh, did his finger...
Green, yeah.
Yeah,
The green.
with his thumb, I think.
Wow. Well, and he's left a chance here. Yize are like the cat with 9 lives in this frame. Should be 3-1 all day long.
Point.
Oh, is he straight enough on the black to hold for the red? I think he is just about. It's a beautiful cue, Yize. Although he doesn't have a tight, compact cue action that perhaps Neil Robertson has. It's a little more fluent and a little more loose, but it's a beautiful cue action nevertheless.
Nine.
Now this is the big shot, black to the yellow. He doesn't necessarily have to develop the pink. He could always leave a double on that.
$16. $18.
Completely mistimed that. Well, I say mistimed it. It just didn't seem to strike through the bottom of the cue ball. It was more of a stun shot than a screw shot. He could still cut the green in, but he'll never be able to get nice on the brown from it.
Yize, 18.
Big moments. I mean, there's an argument it should be 4-0 to Neil Robertson. 2-2 would feel like he was behind in some ways.
Well, could be construed as a poor shot choice by Neil, only in that Yize could bring the pink into play. He could have used the green to cannon the pink into play if he'd have wanted to. And that's a good outcome as well for Yize, because if Neil flicks this green, he could leave a pot on. And furthermore, there'll be a danger of the cue ball cannoning the pink. So you'll need to be very careful here. Well, that's the disaster of all disasters, because now Neil Robertson has no insurance should a mistake be made.
Before we can sort of analyse the games of the players, two things have contributed. One was the phone going off in the first place, and then the second was him just nudging the green with his finger or his thumb or something. But for either of those, he surely would have won this frame.
Well, there may be 23 points separating the players, but because of the position of the colours at the moment, it's quite literally anybody's frame.
Played that one well. Full ball snooker. Green in the middle of the table. And of course he has to hit it. Otherwise he'll need one himself again.
Yes, this is not an easy escape to judge either. But if he could flick the green, you never know, he could fluke it. Wasn't a bad effort, really. But with a brand new cloth on these cushion rails, that type of shot isn't easy to judge.
Relief for Robertson. More so if he can knock the green in. So not quite done yet. Back to needing one snooker.
He's got to pot this green. If he can leave the cue ball behind the brown in bulk, he'll have a great chance to get the snooker he needs. But that's miscontrolled, and he's lucky he can still see the brown.
Yize, 3.
This was the little foul, just caught the green and immediately owned up.
Usually when the colours are in the middle of the table, it's not ideal when a snooker is required, but they are in fairly close proximity to one another, so it's not all bad from Yize's point of view.
Well, he just hasn't played well, has he? Bottom line, and he concedes the frame. Needs vast improvements in the second half. Neil Robertson has looked pot to check because Robertson was put off in that fourth frame, but he did win it. He's 3-1 up. He's good value for the lead. Yize needs improvements in all areas, but there's time. There's still a possible 7 frames to play. Playing for a place in the quarterfinals of this UK Championship. Yeah, Yize's pot success down at 78%. That's got to go up. Robertson at 88%.
Whenever you're 3-1 down at a mid-session interval, you have to go to the practice table, because you have to start quickly whenever play resumes, because if you go 4-1 behind, psychologically your opponent has such an advantage over you. And Neil, like all great champions, is a great front runner, and Yize needs to win this frame just to keep some pressure on Neil. And just to say, if any player, professional player, does want to practice during the mid-session interval, players are allowed 2 half-hour sessions which they book in advance, but if a player during a match needs to practice, then those players that are practicing have to come off and allow you 5 or 6 minutes just to hit a few balls before you go back out to play. That's the rule, and it's a very useful one.
Touching ball.
Wow, well, we had the perfect view of that, didn't we? That's more like it.
Superb pot, wasn't it? But in some ways this black's equally difficult, because he'll expect to go into reds here. It's just gone in. Just flicked off the pack. The black was so tricky as a cutback. He had to make sure not to miss it, really, and he'd be happy to have landed there. Again, this is another black that might not have gone in yesterday with the old cloth.
Nine.
Well, there could be no quarter given this time. He's going to have to play this black with a bit of pace and go into the reds, because there aren't any loose ones available to him. So there'll be pressure on this pot.
16. Yize, 16.
Oh dear. Well, he missed a red not dissimilar to this in one of the earlier frames, and as a player you don't tend to forget them, and I wonder if it was on his mind a little there, but he was stretching, just a little.
1.
Well, just as things were looking up for Yize, the way he started the frame, he misses that, and you saw the disappointment. Robertson looking to twist the knife here.
Eight.
Funny enough, this was how their English Open final began. He was poor early on, Robertson was good, but of course that was best of 17. There's not as much time for it to turn in a best of 11.
Nine.
Neil controlled that very nicely. It's a lovely pack of reds to go into from the blue. They really should open well, and they have. Well, he's certainly on a red to the left corner.
14.
You're always hoping that the black doesn't become tied up when you go into the reds like that. As you can see, that one red is blocking the black somewhat, but at least the pink's in open play.
$15.
Well, feels like help yourself time for a player who this season made his 1000th career century, albeit in rather prosaic settings. The Pons Forge it was, Sheffield, the qualifier for the International Championship, just one of those things, it couldn't be helped. No crowd. But still a fine achievement. And what a lovely split, worth seeing again.
21.
First player, of course, to make at least 100 centuries in a single season.
22.
And actually jointly holds the record in the UK Championship for most centuries in a single UK Championship, 13. That was back in 2020 when he won his third title. Ding did the same 3 years ago.
$28. $29.
Whilst there's a red near the right corner, if Neil had the opportunity to cannon that red away from the black, it could be worthwhile. It would make things a little easier because a lot of these reds that are available aren't necessarily particularly close to the pink spot. So it would be handy for Neil to have the black available to him.
45. $36. $42.
Hard to tell, but there's a chance the black's available into the left corner.
43. 49. 50.
Well, he's very quickly arrived at the half century. Highest break for Neil Robertson, 65.
$56. 57.
'em. Just didn't get hold of the cue ball as much as he wanted to there. He's on the red, but he's so close to it now, and having to play with the extended rest and the extension on his cue, it won't be easy to create enough backspin on the cue ball to get nicely on the one colour that he needs after this red to make the frame safe.
$64.
Well, he played that one really well, didn't he? All the long stuff, screwed back for the blue, which will put him 53 in front with 51 on, although we've seen a couple of frames where he's not quite done at that point. Would like another red as well, ideally. Well, it could be a lot easier, but
69.
if the red does go in left middle, then can't see any way back for Yize in this frame. Oh, beautiful.
70.
So there's been no real change, has there? Yize had the chance, missed quite a straightforward red. Neil Robertson still playing with a lot of confidence. This is his highest break of the match.
Chance of a double on the red, but the red will have to miss the blue by a fraction to find the left-hand centre.
Got very close to it,
75.
but he's dominated the frame, and as I say, no real difference to before the interval. Yize continuing to struggle, Neil Robertson continuing. 4-1. And this really is a must-win frame, isn't it, for Yize and Neil Robertson, growing in confidence seemingly with every frame that passes. And of course, if he can win this one, he'll be one away from the quarter-finals of this UK Championship. Oh, wow, just surrendered to the pocket. Took its time.
Well, that one's even looked at the pocket yesterday when the tables were both playing so tightly. I've always thought from a technical point of view and a cueing point of view, Neil's as near perfection as he could ever get in a human being.
5.
I think tactically he'd play shots differently to that of somebody like a Mark Selby and Mark Williams and John Higgins, that type of player who know the game inside and out. He's different from that Neil. He grew up learning the game in Australia where there were no top amateurs to speak of to learn from.
12.
And that's the main difference in Neil, that he hasn't learnt the game the way British players did.
13.
But he has to be considered as one of the greatest potters and break builders the game will ever see.
Yeah, and if you can play that game consistently well. You don't need to rely too much really on the tactical side, do you? Just blast people off the table. And you can see the mood he's in. Again, trying to kill this frame off in one visit, get the reds open.
Well, that's a good point you make, Dave, because, you know, tactics and safety play, that doesn't put points on the board. And that red finishing near the black isn't a bad thing, because it is possible.
Yeah, Stephen Hendry, Dom, I mean, he couldn't be bothered with safety, could he? Just make hundreds every frame. That was kind of the attitude back then. And, of course, that is why I think we have this ultra-attacking era now. People saw that and thought, OK, that's how you play snooker.
Yeah, and psychologically speaking as well, if you're predominantly a tactical player, you're never going to be as confident as somebody who bases the game on all-out attack, like Stephen Hendry and Neil Robertson, and so many of the players today.
27.
I think there's a gap. Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's a gap that Neil could have screwed through there to play the red next to the black. Because it's a little awkward. The pink doesn't pot to either of its corners because of two reds left and right of it that are blocking those two pockets.
.34. .49.
I think Neil's happy that the black is available, but he wanted to leave himself on the black so he could push through and cannon the red next to it into a possible position. Now, does he have that slight angle? Didn't have any angle, but does that red still pot? It may well do, actually.
.47.
So now, looking really good to extend his lead to 5-1. Neil Robertson looking this week for a 27th world ranking title. That would put him level with Mark Williams, one behind Steve Davis, with, of course, Ronnie O'Sullivan out in front on 41, Stephen Hendry 36, John Higgins 33. So he's in with the big hitters for sure.
.55. .56.
wanted to screw off the red slightly differently. But he's cueing so well, I'll actually be surprised if he misses this pink, because he's timing the ball so beautifully. And to stroke this pinking, it's a shot that relies on pure timing, although he may have slightly hampered cueing, which could make a difference. Doesn't have to take a pot on, and he isn't. Nominated green, which suggests he puts to the side cushion. I think he tried to.
Robertson, 56.
It's certainly better there than it would be on its spot.
Yeah, he's aware that Yize needs an easy starter, which is why he refused to entertain the pink and potentially leave one. And now that he's missed that tough red, chance number 2 in the frame for Robertson for 5-1. Long pot success, 25% for... I mean, that wasn't easy, obviously, but he knocks a lot of them in. But he's also been missing from shorter range as well.
1.
Very disappointing performance from Yize of this.
Well, in frame 1, Yize made a break of 62. He hasn't made a break above 30 since.
Six.
No, and time's running out because this red should make it 5-1. Neil Robertson in full command of this match now. Of course, he had to qualify last year. He drew Judd Trump, which was obviously not an easy draw. Not that there were going to be any, but that was about as hard as it came. Trump went on to win the tournament. But as I say, all those rankings concerns are a thing of the past.
13. Twenty. 21. 28. 29.
'And I'll just repeat something I said earlier, that when Neil Robertson lost that first frame after he looked like he'd win it in the end, I did worry for him. But he's shown since then such great fortitude and resilience, something that he doesn't always show. I've been very, very, very impressed with him this afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, we were saying it about Mark Selby yesterday, and it's true of any player, really. If you can banish the self-doubt, you know, the negative voices, you know, these players are so good that they can really play their best snooker. So if you can go into a match with the right frame of mind, and I know he's working with someone on that, he's got Joe Perry as well. So if he feels good from the off, then he's going to be very dangerous, because, as you say, he's got such a wonderful cue action,
50.
Such a wonderful game. It's very hard to see how this is going to turn around now. Yize will have to do what he did in that English final and just throw everything at him. But Neil Robertson's in the mood to get this one pretty quickly. Another frame he's dominated. Yize had just had a half chance at the long red. It didn't go in. And Neil Robertson
I'm sure he'll take on this long red to the left corner. He can play the cue ball around the back of the black. Well, that's a super pot from Yize, but is it too little, too late? He's going to have to play his absolute A game here to have any chance of getting back into this match.
Well, when he threatened to come back and win that English Open final, I mean, he didn't miss, basically, for 5 or 6 frames. He was 8-2 down. He made breaks of 182, 73, 95, 50. But, you know, you can't just flick a switch and do that. In the end, there was one of those frames, the last frame, it could have been 8-all. It's one of those standoffs where reds started to go down towards bulk, and in the end, Neil Robertson got a chance, and he couldn't fail to make at least 50 from it. Very relieved to get quite a straightforward chance, because, my word, Yize was really on song, and he got the crowd behind him as well. When players come back like that, you know, you can't help but get swept up in it. I'm sure there's plenty of people here who would love to see some sort of recovery.
Okay. 11.
Chance of a plant, perhaps, of the 2 reds just below the pink. It's a problem, though, for Yize that the black is tied up. That certainly isn't helping him. But is there something he can do to bring it into play? He'll have to go into the reds sooner rather than later. This plant, as you can see, is quite severely offset. It needs to be made. And quite often you don't correct these enough and you still hit them thick. Oh, it's just got in. That didn't look in, did it?
$23. $24.
Well, there's certainly no problem here going into the pack of reds. He has plenty of angle on the blue, but he needs to be careful not to flick off the pink. He needs to catch it as fully as possible.
Well, all of a sudden, this is more like it from
29.
Yize. Because he knows comebacks can happen. He was 5-0 up to Michael Holt, and he won 6-4 in the end.
Just wondering, Dave, if he can pop the red into the right corner, whether he could bring the black into play here.
Oh, well. The red over the pocket's no good, is it?
Blue ball.
This has got to go, basically, with that red over the pocket. Superb. 5-1 down to Neil Robertson. A must-get pot. It could have been end of match if he missed this.
35. $56.
Well, that blue was certainly not going to roll off, was it? Now, is he straight enough on the pink to hold for the red at the back of that little group of 5, which looks as though it will pass into the left corner?
$42. 40.
Well, now he needs to be very careful because he's opened all the reds, and that benefits Neil Robertson should he make a mistake.
$48. Yize, 48.
Well, he's going so well. But that kind of sums up the day, I'm afraid, for Yize. You know, he potted that great blue and then misses a much more regulation red.
One.
Beautifully cued again from Neil Robertson. He'd love to cannon that red away from the pink and bring the pink into play. But this is the great thing, isn't it, about snooker? You can do all the hard work, as Yize has just done. He's opened all the reds up, but now, having missed that previous red, he's done all that hard work for Neil Robertson.
Six. Seven.
I wonder if Neil can power this pink in and come off the top cushion and cannon the black and the red. And if he can, then there wouldn't be a ball safe.
$13. $14.
While that red is tied up with the black, there's still a glimmer of hope for Yize in this 7th frame.
20. $21.
Oh, Neil's overrun that significantly.
$27. $28.
That's another great positional shot from Neil Robertson, but he's running out of time to try and bring that difficult red into play. Still 20 points in arrears. He had a great chance. Ooh, 8 or 10 shots ago to bring it into play. Now he could could choose to pop this red and come off the top cushion and cannon that red away from the black. But if it doesn't work out, he could be on nothing.
$35.
He thought he could just delicately cannon that red down behind the black to leave himself on the black. It didn't work out, so end of break. And this is one occasion when Neil won't put a colour on the cushion somewhere. He'll want to keep them all in open play. But he'd be disappointed not to snooker his opponent from here. Shouldn't be difficult. Personally speaking, I think I'd be happy just rolling the yellow slightly towards its own pocket. That will deflect the cue ball over behind the green, brown, blue and pink. They could all be snookering balls.
Blue ball. Neil Robertson, 35.
What a reprieve for Yize. He must be delighted he can see this red. He's just got to be careful not to pop the black here.
Foul.
Well, honestly,
7.
how could you not see that potential?
Free ball.
It's a free ball. He's developed the red. And Neil Robertson has the chance he craved to finally put this match to bed.
Yes, I mean, it feels like it's about landing on the red here.
1.
And then it should be relatively straightforward. He's been the better player by far. Yize is disappointed. Even though he won what, you know, looked like quite a psychologically significant opening frame in the end.
5.
But Robertson's been positive. He's been going along at 21 seconds a shot. I think he'll like his numbers when he comes off if he does wrap this up. 93% on the pot success. And he would have advanced to the quarterfinals for the loss of only 3 frames in his first 2 matches. Plenty left in the tank.
10. 12. 15.
Well, there'll be many good days to come for Yize, and not least he'll make his Masters debut next month.
19.
But this blue, and he's out of the UK Championship.
Thank you, sir. Neil Robertson.
Well, it's
20.
one snooker needed. Going to come back and have a go, but it just feels like a bit of a forlorn hope, really.
So Neil did the right thing there. The pink wasn't straightforward, so he played this at a quiet pace. And they'll do the same here, I feel, just try and roll it towards a pocket. Even if it's not right in the jaws, it's still difficult for an opponent to try and get a snooker from a position like that. That was a good effort from Yize. The pace was excellent. Line just a fraction out. Neil could chip the pink towards his left-hand corner near the black. If he wished, he could try and double it in the opposite corner. Another good shot choice, but he didn't play it particularly well that time. Rolling the pink into the right centre would be my choice here. I wonder what Neil will choose to do. Cutting it in equally as good.
In the end, it was a dominant win for Neil Robertson. Yize has struggled badly, but Neil Robertson overall